23M, me, 21F, my GF. This is becoming unbearable, and my feelings are still being ignored in a 6-year relationship. Before you begin reading, I would like to apologize for any mistakes in my English, as it is not my native language. There is a lengthy message ahead. I want to start by sharing a bit of my background. I am a 23-year-old male from the Philippines. During my childhood, I grew up in a challenging environment, facing bullying, parental disputes, and other difficulties that no child should have to endure. These experiences negatively affected my life, which resulted in me becoming introverted with low social skills and self-esteem. I am currently working on improving these areas of my life. Anyway, I met my girlfriend during junior high school in 2018. The moment I first laid eyes on her, I felt a joy I had never known before, a feeling that illuminated my previously lonely existence. I realized I was falling in love with her. Her eyes, her smile, and her laugh captivated me even more. Fast forward to when we began dating a few months later. We had our share of ups and downs. Her friend grew envious of the time we spent together and attempted to interfere with our relationship. Even some of our teachers tried to separate us simply because we were always in each other's company. Months later, there were instances when she seemed to overlook my feelings, particularly when I was upset about her actions. I understood that we were still young, so I chose to ignore it. After we graduated from junior high, we transferred to a private school in the city in 2019, which was quite far from where we had been living in the province. This situation forced us into a long-distance relationship, which proved to be very difficult for both of us, especially for me. Since I don't really have many friends, she was everything I wanted and needed. Being apart made me deeply sad and anxious that other guys might try to flirt with her because she is attractive. I become easily jealous when I sense that other people are attempting to show interest in her. A few months into our long-distance relationship, we had an argument about something I cannot remember, and I was hurt by things she said and did. I opened up to her, but she did not take any steps to make amends. She refused to acknowledge her own mistakes. I felt as though my emotions were disregarded once again, which sent me into a dark emotional place. I became depressed, and my mind was overwhelmed with dark thoughts, including suicidal ideation and urges to self-harm. I felt alone, as if I were submerged in an ocean of negative energy and distress. There were other issues happening at that time, but her words exacerbated the situation significantly. I believe a relationship cannot thrive if both individuals allow their egos to dictate their actions. Trying to outmaneuver your partner's ego only leads to more strife. So, as her boyfriend, I often set aside my own feelings to resolve our conflicts. In 2020, we had to move back to the province due to the pandemic. I was overjoyed because we would be together again. Over the years, the same scenarios repeated time and time again. I continued to follow what I thought was the right course, suppress my feelings and work through the conflicts. Fast forward to last week. We found ourselves in the same predicament again. She was occupied with her teaching practicum, a compulsory part of her academic curriculum. She is a fourth-year college student pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Education, majoring in social studies, while I am in my 4th year at college pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. We attend different institutions. I became upset because she seemed distant and uninterested in our usual outings. We typically spend time together daily, as this helps us relax, bond, and alleviate stress. I shared my feelings with her, but she dismissed them. I let it go, understanding that she was quite busy. To avoid further conflict, I reverted to my usual approach. You probably understand what I mean, so I won't reiterate myself. Days later, I noticed on her Messenger account that she was conversing with another guy, and it made me uneasy. I expressed my annoyance and communicated this to her. 2 days later, they were still interacting. I shared my feelings and asked her to cease communication with him, and she agreed to set boundaries, so I tried to put it behind me, though I remained upset. 2 days later, they were still in touch. I became angry about the situation and confronted her regarding their relationship. She mentioned that she suspected the guy may like her, but she wasn't certain. I insisted she stop talking to him. When I pressed her about her feelings for him, she maintained that she felt nothing, as they were merely classmates and had developed a family-like bond in their class. This guy is also in a relationship, as far as I understand. I expressed everything I felt and how hurt I was by the situation, But yet again, my feelings were dismissed and ignored. This left me feeling anxious. I chose to let it go once more because I didn't want to add stress to her life. I constantly find myself being cautious about what I say and do, whether I am with her or not, as I don't want to upset her, yet I'm unsure about her feelings toward me. Several days later, I discovered their group chat, which included her, her friends, and her classmates, including the other guy. Her friends were playfully suggesting that something was going on between them. This time, my emotions began to overflow. I noticed one of her replies denying any romantic involvement. Then the conversation between her and the other guy emerged. She advised him to clarify their situation so her friends would stop teasing them. This was where things began to feel unbearable. Anxiety kicked in. I spoke to her again, asking why she continued to communicate with him. I told her I was genuinely hurt and inquired if there was something happening between her and the guy, especially since her friends had begun to notice and tease them about it. I questioned their loyalty as friends, as they were aware that the situation wasn't appropriate but still allowed it. Her responses were emotionless, failing to acknowledge what was occurring. It felt as though my words had no impact on her. I was sincerely voicing my feelings and what I was observing, yet she remained unyielding. It felt as if I were trying to break down a wall with my bare hands. My words seemed ineffective. Following this conversation, I attempted to move on and overlook what was happening. I tried to ignore it, but my heart was overwhelmed with pain. I struggled to keep everything bottled up, anxious about the stress it could cause her, but I could not contain it much longer. I needed to let her know I had to express my feelings. The following day, I saw her friend's Facebook story, a photo of them together from a school event. I noticed my girlfriend and the other guy sitting side by side in the background, which escalated my anxiety. Later that evening, I inquired about her day and asked if the guy was trying to get close to her or if it was the other way around. She denied it, so I confronted her once more, reminding her that I had repeatedly requested she discontinue communication with him, yet she persisted. When I questioned her motives, she became defensive. I pointed out that regardless of how often I asked her to stop, she would not, as she seemed unconcerned about my distress. I reached a point of emotional exhaustion. I asked her directly where she envisioned our relationship heading, whether she wanted to continue or end things, because the pain had become unbearable. She responded that I should decide, as I was the one feeling hurt, effectively tossing my question back at me. This response made me feel as though she felt no remorse and was indifferent to whether I chose to stay or leave. The fact that she wouldn't even attempt to salvage our relationship hurt more than anything. But I couldn't bring myself to express a desire to end things. I was too afraid of losing her. So I told her I wanted to remain in the relationship, and even pleaded with her to cease communication with the other guy, as it was causing me great distress. She replied that she would gradually distance herself from him. I asked if she could promise to do so. She responded, "I will try," but I was uncertain if I could trust her anymore. This conversation occurred last night. We agreed to take some time to reflect. We wished each other good night and went to sleep, but I struggled to find rest for hours. My mind and heart wouldn't allow me to. This morning, I logged into her Facebook account and unfriended the other guy. Hours later, she noticed and confronted me, furious that I acted without her consent. I admitted my actions, and her anger was heartbreaking. Tears threatened to spill, but I held them back. I had thought she would appreciate my decision, considering her promise to distance herself and that it could have marked the beginning of progress. Instead, she reacted with intense defensiveness, blaming me as if I had committed a terrible offense. I ultimately found myself apologizing and asked her to re-add him, which she did without hesitation. I am completely confused and heartbroken. To prevent the situation from worsening, I resolved to comply with her wishes and return to a sense of normalcy. Now, we are acting as if nothing happened. I tell myself that perhaps she is simply too overwhelmed and stressed to deal with me, and I have begun to reflect on my own actions, questioning if this was an inappropriate time to voice my feelings, particularly with everything she is currently managing. She is not a bad person. There are numerous qualities I love about her. She is supportive, brings me joy when others make me feel low, is chatty, and shares details about her day, which I find quite enjoyable. I am naturally reserved and do not speak much unless I have something significant to say. I find small talk challenging and possess low social skills, yet she has always accepted me for who I am, something I doubt many other women would do. We sometimes discuss our future. She mentions that when we get married and have a family, she wants to be a responsible wife and mother, and I truly look forward to that. I love her so deeply that even after all the times she has caused me pain, I still choose to stay with her. My love for her outweighs the hurt she has inflicted. However, the pain she has caused me in recent days has left a scar on my heart that I fear may never heal. Her words have instilled a fear in me, making me hesitant to open up to her again, worried that she may misunderstand and dismiss my feelings once more. I genuinely love her and am willing to give her another chance to grow. I am uncertain if this decision is the right one, and I question if my reasons are sufficient to end our relationship. Has anyone faced a similar situation, and what advice would you provide? I fear that some may not understand my circumstances, or might judge me or say hurtful things. Nevertheless, I have encouraged myself to confide here on Reddit to alleviate this burden and seek your guidance, hoping that someone here can offer assistance. I would be sincerely grateful for any support or advice you might provide, as I struggle to find clarity and peace amidst the turmoil in my mind. Story 2. I, 26F, want to have a good time, but I have to go with her, 27F. So I doubt I will be having a good time. Hello. This is my first time posting, and while the background is quite detailed, I genuinely need some guidance on managing a situation that has arisen, and I am struggling to reach a conclusion on my own. I am a 26-year-old female, and my boyfriend is 27 years old. We have been in a relationship for 7 years, experiencing many highs and lows throughout that time. He is my first romantic partner, and I am his first long-term girlfriend, which has certainly been a journey of growth for both of us. Fortunately, we have established strong communication and minimal drama. Currently, we share a house and a dog and are generally doing well, although a few factors are creating instability and worsening the current situation. An old friend of his re-entered his life last year. Patricia, who is 27 years old, was a friend from high school, and they lost contact due to her challenging past relationship. Now that she is reconnecting with old friends, my boyfriend has become one of them. They had a good friendship back in the day, so they quickly re-established their bond and became close friends again, spending a lot of time together. I have no issues with him having female friends. In fact, he was quite the flirt when we first met and had many female friends. I accepted early on that if I wanted to be with him, I had to be comfortable with that, even though many of these friends were somewhat provocative, such as those on OnlyFans or sharing similar content on Snapchat. I understood that pictures of other women would frequently appear in his feed and likely wouldn't change for me. My complete acceptance of his past and my desire to remain close, despite his previous connections, is a significant reason why I believe we have stayed together for so long. I'm even friends with some of those women now, and I never attempt to control who he spends time with or when. So why does this particular situation with Patricia bother me? To outline my concerns more clearly, here is a list of reasons. She constantly seeks his attention, whether it's sending messages at all hours, asking to accompany him to events, or inviting him over multiple times a week. She often prepares dinner for him at least once a week and provides him with packed lunches for the entire week, though not every week, but certainly more often than not. She has asked to share a bed with him during an out-of-town event that I did not attend due to my lack of interest in the topic. The way she looks at him makes it clear that she has romantic feelings, and even a friend of mine expressed concern after spending time with them, remarking on how unsettling it was to witness her unwavering gaze. It's not just me who feels this way. I had to ask him multiple times before establishing a clear limit on how many days a week they could see each other, as their interactions had become overwhelming for me. By January 11th of this year, they had spent 7 days together, despite my request for him to reduce their time together. It seemed that every time he was headed somewhere, it was to her house. He has since been more mindful of the boundaries we set. Whenever I attend events with them, like house parties or clubs, she consistently wears revealing and form-fitting clothing. While this might not be an issue on its own, it became problematic during a double birthday party for a mutual friend and my boyfriend. where her outfit consisted of a skirt that barely covered her rear and a top that left little to the imagination, all at an event where the theme was to wear something you never get to wear. Meanwhile, everyone else was dressed warmly since it was January. She has explicitly told him of her interest in him and even discussed how compatible they would be in a romantic relationship. He shared with me that, during our first year, when he mentioned attending swinger parties, she had asked him to inquire if she could sleep with him. He wisely chose not to ask me. To address my discomfort, I have attempted to get to know her better, trying to be friendly and engage with her on social media. We have hung out a few times, not alone but in groups without my boyfriend, and I cannot label Patricia as a bad or malicious individual. She seems nice, and I understand why they get along so well. If it weren't for the other issues, we could potentially be friends. He genuinely enjoys her company, viewing their relationship as a friendship separate from any romantic interests. He tries to be transparent about where he is and when they are together in an effort to ease my anxiety, but it hasn't alleviated my feelings. Often, my depression, anxiety, and self-esteem issues affect my perception of situations. I am working on finding a balance between trusting him to spend time with a friend and managing the discomfort that arises from the attention she seeks from him. That was the situation until last weekend, which brings me to the core issue I am seeking guidance on. He went on a weekend trip to an event, one that I am not interested in attending. And he forgot to inform me that Patricia would be carpooling with him in his converted van and spending the night in it together on separate areas of the floor and couch, apparently, until I noticed a familiar post on Sunday evening and inquired about it. He apologized and genuinely seemed to have forgotten to tell me. Despite being quite intelligent, he can sometimes be quite singular in focus. I still felt hurt and took some time to process those feelings. However, just when I thought I had calmed myself, he shared something that changed everything for me. During the weekend, Patricia gifted him something she had meant to give him for his birthday, which had been delayed in transit. The gift was a wallet-sized card featuring an image of her backside, nothing else. He insists it was posed with underwear on, but that doesn't significantly alter how I feel. No one gives something like that to a friend in a platonic manner, especially considering I am already uncomfortable with her flirtatious behavior and the potential for escalating tensions. This finally prompted me to stand my ground, informing him that it was wildly inappropriate and disrespectful to our relationship and to himself. He seemed uncertain about how to respond and accepted my concerns, but mentioned that he probably misplaced it in his clutter. Nevertheless, I insisted that if he does find it, it should not go in his wallet or enter our home. If I see it, I will dispose of it. I also requested that he communicate to her that her actions were inappropriate, and since he agrees with me, he should ensure that she understands it's not just me who thinks so. He concurred, and a couple of days later informed her in person. Patricia simply laughed and acknowledged that it was kind of inappropriate. That response felt lacking, as there was no apology or commitment to refrain from such behavior in the future, nothing indicative of real remorse for crossing a boundary. That response continues to sit wrong with me. Subsequently, he informed me that he acquired tickets to see a DJ friend of his perform locally. Since he is an EDM artist, and we both enjoy attending these events, our plan was to partake in some psychedelics for the show. He failed to mention that Patricia had seen the post and was the one to initiate the idea of attending together with another friend. At this point, I am torn. I do not wish to miss the event since I have already purchased a ticket, and I have enjoyed seeing this DJ before, but my anxiety would skyrocket if I stayed home. However, going means I would need to ride in the car with Patricia. She wants to travel an hour into the city with just us before the show to collect the psychedelics, making it a 2-hour journey, even though the event is local, and remain in close quarters at a small venue for hours while they are under the influence. I am not adept at concealing my feelings, and I worry that I won't be able to keep my displeasure to myself, particularly as I anticipate her being overly cordial to me. I absolutely refuse to use psychedelics around her, as I am aware that I would likely have a negative experience due to the stress. However, being the sole sober person at an event where I would prefer to indulge does not sound appealing either. I am uncertain about what to do. Should I attend and put myself in this situation? Should I go influenced and risk a bad experience or the potential fallout of emotions while they are intoxicated? Should I remain sober and be their caretaker throughout the night while they're in a different headspace that I would also like to experience? Alternatively, am I overanalyzing the situation and missing an obvious solution for how to suppress my feelings and enjoy myself, whether sober or under the influence? The event is tonight, and I am feeling increasingly anxious, hoping for a decision on how to navigate this situation. Any advice would be welcome, and I encourage questions for clarification. In summary, should I attend or skip the event, and if I do go, should I be sober or under the influence, considering I'll be with someone I do not like or trust, while being the only one with concerns about it? Story 3. A couple 32M, 31F is facing a relationship dilemma. Should they proceed to marriage or not? Please advise. A man, aged 32, and a woman, aged 31, connected through an online dating application in July 2023. The man indicated that he is averse to marriage and does not intend to pursue it throughout his life, preferring instead a cohabitation arrangement. The woman also expressed her aversion to marriage. However, she would consider it if she encounters a suitable partner. Although her parents would push for her to marry eventually, she would hold her ground until she finds someone truly deserving. While the woman concurred with the man's anti-marriage stance, she acknowledged that her parents would never accept a relationship without marriage. The man stated that if marriage were the only option for them to be together, he would contemplate it. Simultaneously, she mentioned her willingness to provide him with what he desired: a cohabitation relationship without marriage. Despite her own desire for marriage, but she recognized that her parents would not approve. Both the man and woman shared a mutual belief that engaged couples should spend time living together prior to marriage and should take trips together to better understand one another. Nevertheless, the woman noted that her parents, being traditional, might not permit any of this to occur in her situation. They officially entered into a relationship in August 2023. From August 2023 to April 2024, the couple cultivated a deep connection and engaged in candid conversations about progressing their relationship on their own terms when they felt adequately prepared. In September 2023, the boyfriend articulated that a successful relationship should be founded on these essential principles: compatibility, open communication, teamwork, supporting each other's emotional, personal, professional, and financial growth, among others. In January 2024, recognizing the stress the girlfriend might experience due to potential marital pressure from her family, the boyfriend granted her a veto, the authority to decide if their marriage should occur, even if he might not feel completely prepared. He reminded her of this veto in May and June 2024, clarifying that if she chose to employ it, he would marry her, regardless of his feelings or readiness. The boyfriend expressed trust in her intentions, emphasizing that he would allow her to make the decision for both of them. In February 2024, when the girlfriend's parents became aware of the relationship and called the boyfriend to meet them for an introduction, she made general remarks during a family discussion about how couples engage in live-in arrangements and take trips to know each other better. Her parents expressed their disapproval of live-in relationships and trips before marriage. Subsequently, whenever the girlfriend made general comments about cohabitation and vacations, her parents voiced their discontent. Eventually, they began to suspect that the boyfriend was behind these suggestions. In February 2024, the boyfriend met the girlfriend's parents, who found him acceptable as a potential marriage candidate for their daughter. In March 2024, the boy's parents met with the girlfriend and her family. Anticipating that her parents might insist on a marriage within 2024, the boyfriend asserted in April 2024 that, in his view, a relationship should only be considered for marriage once a certain baseline, similar to passing grades in an examination, of compatibility, open communication, teamwork, and mutual growth is achieved. The girlfriend agreed with these standards, but also pointed out that they could continue to work on these areas after marriage. The boyfriend stressed that at least the minimum requirements should be met before marriage, while additional improvements could follow. In May 2024, due to societal pressures and the girlfriend's advancing age, her parents expressed a wish for the couple to marry within a year. The boyfriend addressed all the questions posed by her parents regarding marriage, discussing his readiness and the possibility of marrying in the future. However, he conveyed that he believed their relationship required more time to develop, stating that they would need at least 2 more years, beginning in May 2024, to decide on marriage. When the parents inquired if he would definitely reach a conclusion within that 2-year timeline, he stated that it was possible he could realize after 2 years that he needed additional time, thus he could not promise a fixed deadline. When asked if the relationship could end, he responded that, if it did, they would remain friends. He assured the girlfriend that he would not terminate the relationship unless something criminal, extreme, or unforgivable occurred on her part. He also expressed that he would not want to marry until the minimum criteria were satisfied, regardless of whether that took less or more than 2 years. The girlfriend suggested engagement as a potential compromise to reassure her parents and buy them more time, but he remained opposed to the idea, not wanting to give the parents false hope regarding marriage. The girlfriend felt incapable of going against her parents' wishes concerning their insistence on marrying soon or ending her relationship with the boyfriend. Nonetheless, she was determined to postpone any decisions regarding marriage or a breakup for as long as possible. Even after this, the boyfriend responded to the girlfriend's parents whenever they requested to meet, reiterating the 2-year timeframe he required to determine whether to marry. In May and June 2024, under repeated discussions about the veto, the girlfriend consistently stated that she would never exercise it. She believed that invoking the veto would impose undue pressure on the boyfriend to marry her before he was genuinely ready, which she did not wish to do. She felt that using the veto would be akin to forcing him into matrimony, something she did not want to do. In a conversation about their potential future together, the boyfriend asked the girlfriend what she believed was the most likely outcome. The girlfriend shared that, given the current circumstances, she sensed their relationship might soon come to an end, as neither her parents nor her boyfriend seemed ready to alter their positions. Understanding that the girlfriend is highly emotional and that a breakup could lead to significant distress for her, the boyfriend reduced certain forms of physical and playful affection such as kissing, initiating intimacy, hugging, holding hands, and using endearing nicknames while maintaining other forms of behavioral affection, like assisting the girlfriend in her career, forehead kisses, though done less frequently, planning dates or activities, being available to her despite work and other commitments, and commuting long distances to see her. This adjustment was made without informing the girlfriend. The girlfriend continued to express behavioral affection. The girlfriend observed the changes in physical and playful displays of affection and raised the issue, stating that it was unhealthy for their relationship. The manner in which she expressed this concern came off as a complaint to the boyfriend. He also pointed out that she had herself reduced her physical and playful displays of affection significantly. The girlfriend acknowledged that her concern should have been conveyed more constructively so as not to appear as a complaint. She admitted to curtailing her physical and playful displays of affection, citing the boyfriend's own reduced affection as a contributing factor. She felt that continuing to show affection while he was not might come across as forcing it in their relationship. The boyfriend acknowledged his decrease in certain forms of physical and playful affection, explaining that it was intended to ease the potential emotional impact on the girlfriend in the case of a breakup. In September 2025, the girlfriend's parents again pressed the boyfriend to consider marrying soon, but he insisted that he required more time to evaluate the relationship. The girlfriend concurred that significant progress had not occurred during this period. The boyfriend had asked the girlfriend multiple times in 2024 if she felt they were prepared for marriage. When answering strictly, based on the need to meet the minimum standards in the areas of compatibility, open communication, teamwork, and mutual growth, her reply was that they were not yet ready to marry. Nevertheless, she felt that attaining those minimum standards was a work in progress that could continue after marriage, which led her to believe they were indeed ready to marry. By February 2025, the girlfriend's parents were yet again urging her to make a decision either to marry within the year or to cease their meetings and end the relationship altogether. What advice do you have regarding this situation? Story 4. I, 26F, am confused about this almost relationship with my 27M friend, turned situationship, turned stranger. What do you think changed? Going forward, what can I do? I recently became close friends with a man I had known for a long time without ever interacting directly. Over several months, we began spending time together and communicating daily. He was notably attentive and considerate, often going out of his way for me and my friends. He frequently sought opportunities to be with me, both alone and in group situations. We discussed various topics including life, childhood, and family. Eventually, he presented me with an expensive gift that made me uncomfortable, as I was uncertain about his intentions. I declined the gift, explaining that I did not feel at ease accepting it, especially since there was no particular reason behind it. After a longer discussion, he admitted his feelings for me and inquired if I felt the same way. At that moment, I only saw him as a good friend and explained that was the extent of my feelings. This led to a lengthy emotional conversation about how much I cared for him and my frustration with the situation. He conveyed that he valued our friendship above all else and did not wish to jeopardize it. He wanted to keep our conversation private and continue the friendship. We ended the evening with him joking about how long he had harbored feelings for me. He recounted times when he attempted to approach me, even in situations where it seemed difficult to find common topics for conversation, or how often he watched my Instagram stories multiple times, or how he was always aware of my presence in any room. This discussion was refreshingly candid. For several weeks afterward, we maintained our friendship without any apparent changes. Then things became complicated. As we spent more time together, particularly when we were alone, my feelings for him deepened. I appreciated his values, behavior, and mannerisms increasingly. Our goodbyes included longer hugs, and he became more affectionate when we were not in group settings. In essence, the lines distinguishing our friendship grew increasingly ambiguous. Ultimately, we ended up kissing, and it was quite passionate to the extent that it felt like it might escalate further, but we made the decision to stop. This occurred several times. Subsequently, he began to distance himself, canceling plans and becoming unreachable. I tried to address this issue, but received vague explanations involving a busy work schedule or commitments to others. In the end, I lost my temper and confronted him in a way that I am not proud of. I expressed my anger, calling him a liar, disrespectful, and inconsiderate. He immediately began apologizing and confessed that he had difficulty expressing the feelings he was grappling with regarding the intimacy we had shared. We both held beliefs about celibacy, and he regretted not having halted things sooner. I responded that we would not have progressed further because I had no intention of doing so. We discussed the matter, and he admitted it was something he should have addressed more directly and promised to improve his communication moving forward. The following week, we had plans which he canceled. We rescheduled, but he ended up unavailable again. I approached him one last time, stating that while his communication through calls and video chats had become more consistent, we still had not spent time together, which was unusual for us. He explained that the week had been particularly hectic. He also shared that he found it challenging to be around me in the presence of our mutual friends, as some had begun to suspect something was happening between us, and he knew I preferred to keep our situation private. He mentioned someone had inquired about our relationship, forcing him to fabricate a response. He then suggested that we should make our relationship public, to which I firmly responded, no, not until we clarify things between ourselves. Due to the emotional distance over the past few weeks, we had yet to have a direct discussion about expectations and the nature of our connection, although it was evident that we both had feelings for each other. We ended the call with him proposing plans for the next few days for just the two of us. Later that night, he expressed that he missed me and looked forward to seeing me. We discussed our plans the following morning while I was at work, but by the time I finished my shift, I could not reach him. He was unresponsive to calls and texts. Frustrated, I ended up removing him from social media accounts that do not show followers, so our mutual friends would not notice any issues. It was not a wise decision, but I was emotional. I felt upset because this had been a topic of conversation between us, and his behavior had changed drastically since we first met. As of now, we are completely out of contact. He has not acknowledged his absence during our planned meeting. I sent him a lengthy message expressing that I couldn't deal with the mixed signals and questioned why he was behaving this way. I wondered if he was hurt by my decision regarding public acknowledgement of our relationship, clarifying that I wanted a discussion rather than dismissing the idea altogether. I also expressed my concerns that perhaps he was just telling me what I wanted to hear and that none of this felt genuine. I wanted to be with the person I believed him to be and the feelings he evoked in me, but he has obviously changed, and I cannot understand why. The way he is treating me reflects his true self, and he will need to reconcile that internally. I mentioned how I didn't want animosity between us given our many mutual friends. I expressed my disappointment in him, among other things. While my message contained much more, the fact remains that I haven't received a response, nor do I expect one. It was mainly to express my thoughts. I doubt I will find closure in this situation. I am curious about what caused this shift. He never appeared to be the type to act this way, which is why my feelings for him intensified. He has repeatedly stated that he sees me as more than just a friend and desires to be with me. But what is going on? Many of his actions contradict this. Any thoughts on what transpired? What should I do moving forward? I have already shared my perspective in my final message, and since he has yet to respond, I doubt that will change. The first time I confronted him, he replied within 3 minutes. I would appreciate any guidance or insights on this matter. I realize it is a complex situation.